Have you ever noticed how much debate there is about what you can or you can't do on the Sabbath? Well, one group makes a list of do's and don'ts. Well, don't cook, but it's okay to heat up. Don't watch TV, but it's okay if you watched online worship. Don't buy anything, but okay if it is medicine. And pretty soon the Sabbath turns into a battlefield of rules and instead of a day of rest. Why does this happen? Well, it is because we have confused God's life-giving design law with a human-imposed law system. What do I mean by that? Well, when we view God's law like human law, we automatically think in terms of rules, list of behaviors to avoid punishment. But that was never God's intent, my friends. The Sabbath was not given as a test of obedience to a list of restrictions. It was given as a gift. This gift is woven into creation itself. Jesus reminded us of this. The Sabbath was made for men, not men for Sabbath, in Mark chapter 2, verse 27. So I would like you to think about it. The Sabbath was created before sin, before a single Jew was even mentioned, before the Ten Commandments. Adam and Eve didn't even need a list of do's and don'ts. They were invited into God's rhythm of rest. They worked 6 days and just by design rest and delight in God on the seventh. It was a part of the fabric of life. It was relational. It was not legal requirement. But here is what happens when people drift from the healing and trusted relationship with God. They default into rule keeping to avoid punishment. Can you see that? That's exactly what the Pharisees did in Jesus' days. They made hundreds and hundreds of Sabbath rules and laws and then condemned Jesus for healing on Sabbath. Can you imagine? Healing, which is a beautiful expression of love, was seen as breaking the Sabbath by those religious people in ancient Israel. Jesus corrected them, of course, by saying it is lawful to do good on Sabbath. Matthew 12:12. Why do we argue so much? Because people are operating at two different mindsets. The first one is the imposed law mindset. Basically, it means give me some rules so I won't get into trouble. Or they are living under the life-giving design law mindset, meaning show me how this day brings life, brings healing, and brings relationship with my God. So the real questions, my friends, isn't what can I do or not do. The real question is how can I enter into the rest God designed for me at creation? How can I use this time to deepen my trust and restore my relationship and experience healing and restoration from Him and to Him? Imagine if instead of a checklist, we approach Sabbath like a birthday celebration. Nobody says at the birthday celebration, am I allowed to eat cake or am I allowed to laugh or do I sing or what? The whole point about the celebration is about joy, it's about fellowshipping, it's about love. Not a list of rules. In the same way, the Sabbath is God saying, come and set aside the burdens of life. Come to me and delight with me. So perhaps the problem isn't the Sabbath at all, but the way we think about God's law. If we see Him as a rule enforcer, Sabbath becomes restrictive. If we see Him as the great healer and the great restorer, then Sabbath becomes a healing rest. Amen to that.